Hello, everyone. I am here with Claire Khaw, one of those people who only needs an introduction once. Then, after that, needs no introduction. I don't think, like, there are certain people that have to be introduced multiple times. I think you're one of those people that only has to be introduced once. Um,
My fame precedes me.
it's
My
a way of
infamy,
saying it.
perhaps.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Different kinds of infamy depending on how you consider it. And we wanted to have a conversation. We connected over a variety of things. You've come out to Bible study a couple of times. Um, your comments, obviously, while other people are having conversation, makes it so that you notice. People notice you. We'll just say that, right? A friend of mine uh,
Mhm.
he is a ginger, and he was visiting. He had a girlfriend in Japan, and he was trying to get away from someone, like a
Mhm.
security guard at some point, and he was like in a mall, and he like was running around, and he was punk rock, so he spiked his ginger hair, and the security guard caught up to him, grabbed him by the shoulder,
Mhm.
and said, if you want to get away with things, you have to have more normal hair, right? Is that's what it feels like.
Of
Claire is
course.
noticeable. You're very noticeable. I told you you could stream this as
Well, I
well if
guess
you
I
if
have
you were
my own
wanting to.
branding.
Yes, yes, you do. If you want to stream this as well, feel free. Go nuts. Um,
Thank you. I think I did click on the button already, so it should be doing it
awesome,
now. Thank you.
awesome. So you kind of were more pushing to have a conversation right away. I'm kind of in Macbeth mode. You've accepted a role, which I'm very excited about.
Mhm.
But I was very open with having a conversation with you, and was wondering what you wanted to have the conversation about. I don't know why you've gotten a -1, a -2 from someone, and I don't know why. Or maybe that's me. Maybe I've gotten a -2. What did you want to talk about, Claire? I'm gonna try
And
not
then
to be.
no, I'm actually quite happy for you to ask me questions. If any occur to you, and conduct it this way. Um,
Okay, wonderful. So
but yeah.
I've heard some of your spiel before, and I think maybe I should just make a statement that you go, you're actually completely wrong about what my project is, and through you correcting me, we could have a super interesting conversation. Does that sound good to you?
Hmm, hmm, yeah, that sounds good.
So, unless I'm mistaken, you believe that the solution to society is a secular understanding of Islam, is that a secular practice of Islam is how Western society could be saved? Is that right?
Um, yes, simply because all the five world religions that we've heard about have been about um, protecting the institution of marriage. So it's
Mm,
basically saying, well, in the olden days anyway, no sex before marriage, um, support the institution of the family,
mhm,
and well, that was basically it. And I do believe that the entire construct of religion is primarily to reinforce this idea, and Christianity being the weakest link and having been replaced by liberalism for the
mhm,
past 250 years has well, come to the end of the line. It's been a slow replacement by liberalism, really, and of course it's
mhm,
unofficial. Nobody said, oh, Christendom ended in 1918, which
right.
is kind of what one of the statements I keep making, which nobody gets because I don't think anybody studies Western history properly.
Yeah.
In that, or understands the meaning of words like Christendom, or even pronounces it properly. But I mean, it just means a Europe of Christian kingdoms, and obviously the founding of the American Republic was a rejection against this kind of political system, and and since Christianity was really had the only purpose of defending the divine right to rule of absolute monarchs, it became, well, it started to become an anachronism in America anyway. And I don't think anybody noticed.
So I feel maybe that the issue is actually addressing what the problem is, where the problem starts, right from the word go. Because to me, secularism is the problem, and can in no way be a solution. Is like there's an issue that a company has, like when a company moves from being a family business to becoming a franchise, right? And
Mhm.
I feel that when you reach a certain size or level of development, you have there's a problem that is produced, and that Islam is um, in no way immune to this. Like the birth rate of Muslims who come to the West also plummets, right? So you can't. To me, the issue is secularism. Is that the we know that more religious people have more children, and that the more, yeah, it's not merely liberalism, because if you're in a liberal society but you're highly religious, you keep your numbers up.
Yes, but liberalism is you see, nothing is official. So
Mhm.
understandably, quite a few people might say, particularly in Britain, which is still nominally Christian because it's a birthplace of Anglicanism, and the Church of England is still the most powerful church in the world. Um, but the point is, if you look at individual UK citizens, you will find that most of them are not Christian, and most of them are atheist, and most of them, even though they call themselves Christian, have not been confirmed. So
Right.
there are all kinds of problems about who's actually a paid up member of the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
but when you say liberalism, when you say secularism, I think you mean liberalism. And when you say liberalism, it is really the orthodoxy, the official political orthodoxy of the West,
Right.
because
Right. Right.
people do talk about liberal values and the liberal order and the liberal
Yep.
establishment, and this really means that liberalism limits the practice of religion. So, although your Torah might say stone sodomites and adulterers to death, the liberal is holding his hand, saying, not here, not here. You're not, you know.
So, in order for someone to do something, it's easier to get them to do something that they believe in. So, explain to me your project of secular Coranism, where to me, it's like I didn't have sex before I was married because I believed it was wrong, right? Monogamy was something that I
Mhm.
believed in. And so, because I believed in it, I was able to do the difficult thing of not sleeping around, right? How do you get
Yes,
people to
but
practice the thing that they don't believe in, which is, I think, the issue with secularism?
absolutely. I mean, that's why we have laws. All political activism is about changing the law. People say
Mhm.
there ought to be a law against it, or this law ought to be abolished, um, and so you can forbid a whole bunch of things, and
Mhm.
it might not. It still won't work because criminals, when they commit their crimes, think they're going to get away with it, or the balance of their mind was upset by drugs, intoxication, provocation, which is a partial defense to murder. So they have all their excuses, right? They didn't mean to do it.
Right, right, right.
But I think the bottom line is that there is a law against it, and so if you break the law, you become a criminal. So it's clear what where the line is, and and the fact that you cross it means that you will be treated as a criminal, and that is the clear demarcation that we all need. Not you do it if you feel like it, and don't do it if you don't.
This is great
You don't like
clarification.
gay marriage, don't practice gay marriage. You don't
This is
want
one of the
you
things
don't like
as you were
fornication,
talking
don't
about it.
fornicate.
Yeah, I'm realizing there's actually a difference in my head, which is that um, I immediately jump to something that's not law, that's something that's just personal morality, which is like how what fidelity looks like in my marriage. But
Yes.
if
And
something like the death penalty, for instance, is that the issue, and we have this right now in the U.S. is happening and happening in Canada, is like all across the West, you have people unwilling because they don't believe in the law to enforce the law, and that's a bigger problem. Whether or not people believe that they should be allowed to do the legal thing, it is the enforcement which makes it so that that thing is, I don't know, acceptable. So there's certain places where you can't get arrested for doing certain crimes because they refuse to enforce the law, right? And so maybe the issue with secularism is not necessarily the culture of the individuals, what the individual wants to do, but that then the law won't be enforced. People will say, "Yeah, you did it, but I, as the judge, get to pick the sentence, and I've decided it's nothing because I don't care about the law." Um,
exactly. So you get people smoking joints in public.
right.
You walk past, you know it's technically illegal, but nobody
Yeah,
prosecutes it. So,
that's right.
so obviously the law needs to be clarified, and somebody needs to say, look, we've noticed, a number of things. It's not good, and from now on, it's going to be different. That sort of message really needs to be given. And of course, enforcement is always a problem.
Hmm.
But again, for anything to change, you have to make the arguments. Like, even if you wanted a revolution, you would have to say, what this is no good. We want something better and different. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And the case has to be made. And of course, the problem is that there are so many vested interests in the current order.
Yeah.
People enjoy their culture of casual sex and sex and drugs, and
Mhm.
borrowing or maxing out on their credit card and being irresponsible.
So Claire, what creates the stability of what you want as far as like the notion of secular Coranism? What creates the stability? Because if it sounds like you want what's in the Quran but no one to believe in it, like how do you get that?
Well, again, you don't have to believe in it. You just have to obey. And then, if you think it has improved your life or your society, then you might believe in it a bit more. But you have to give it a trial run and see how things go.
But
So I
why?
think
So the issue with I have with secularism in general is the idea that it cannot make ought claims, and because it can't make ought claims, you you can't make a declaration of what would be effective, because effective is like effective for what, right? So those terms,
effective in
yeah.
restoring the patriarchy. And then everybody's going to say, oh, but that's domestic violence, because
No, no,
that
no.
is what.
I'm not gonna say that's domestic violence. I'm gonna say why. Who cares? Because religions create what you care about, and you care about them because you buy into the system. If you don't buy into the system, then like why? Yeah, like
Right. So, what's in it for me with patriarchy? You're saying, right?
I'm
Is
saying
that is that your
what's in
question?
it for, well, I'm actually saying what's in it for anyone, because not just for me, it's it's essentially making one flavor of ice cream required and no
Um,
other flavors of ice cream, because it to me it just is anything secular is just preference and has nothing to do with, there's no ought in there at all. It's not you should do this. It's like,
right. I mean,
oh, I like it. Yeah.
well, I call it secular Quranism as a nod to what the prevailing culture is at the moment, which is basically atheism.
Okay.
So I know I live in a secular society, and
Hmm.
I think I have to acknowledge this fact, rather than, be some, crazy Muslim fanatics saying, everybody has to, convert to Islam and live under Sharia, which is not going to be taken very well. I'm merely making the arguments for social conservatism and addressing people who
Yeah.
think of themselves as conservatives. Like, well, do you support marriage or not? And
Right.
it seems to be yes or no, and I don't know, and maybe, and it depends. So people
And
are so
why not?
double-minded.
So you would say, yeah, yeah. Continue. Sorry.
Um, so what I'm saying is that people don't really know because it's all focused on the outcome, um, and they want. I've had people say, "Yes, I'll support it if it has any chance of success in my lifetime." So, well, of course, it's not go. I can't guarantee that, can I? But I'm saying, well, okay, I'm doing this as a political theorist. I'm saying this is a problem. Do you agree with me that it's a problem? And I talk to people, and obviously I will be talking to people who complain about their government, because otherwise, if they think everything is fine, of course they don't want any changes. So when they complain about the government, I come up with a solution, and their response seems to be, crisis? What crisis? There's no problem. Go away, Claire.
Have
But
you ever? I'm going to introduce something that might seem strange, and then I think it'll make sense why. Do you know about Esperanto? Do you know what Esperanto is?
it's a language.
Right, but do you know why it was developed? Like the history of it?
But to make language easy to learn.
Yes. So it's to make language universal. The idea was we had all these people from everywhere around the world. Could we have everyone who had their own language plus they knew Esperanto? So no matter where you were, every country would be bilingual with Esperanto. And it was supposed to be the easiest possible language to learn. And that way you could travel everywhere. And no matter where you went, you could you could talk to them in that language, and it didn't matter where it would solve all the problems. And the issue is that
And it's got no take. Nobody wants
yeah,
to learn an extra language.
well, the issue is, like, I want to learn Maltese. Do you want to learn Maltese?
What's that?
Like, have you
I'm
ever had
sorry, I don't
any
understand the word.
Maltese, like the language that people in Malta speak?
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
There's no way that you have put any effort into learning Maltese. I wish that I wish I had enough time to learn Maltese, because it's where my dad was born, right? So we couldn't. You get a couple of utopians that would learn Esperanto. There was one movie made in it. William Shatner starred in it, of course, but no one could even. The actors couldn't speak it. They wrote their lines out phonetically and they memorized them, but the actors didn't even know what they were saying because they couldn't find enough people, even at its absolute height, who would learn the language, because they just didn't care, right?
Language laziness.
Yes, one of the reasons why Italian exists is because Dante said, "I'm going to create a dialect, like I'm going to hammer down a piece of literature, and part of its function is to hold the language together, because people will love this thing." So, why I'm bringing this up, though, Claire, is that your project, I get everything that you're saying, but it sounds like Esperanto to me. It sounds like this utopian thing, but it doesn't have a culture to it, and it's basically impossible. For the reasons why Esperanto was impossible.
As for your culture point, I think we should stop worrying about the culture, because the culture will always be wrong if the law and morality is wrong. So
but
you can have good culture, you can have bad culture.
But the reason why so many people speak English, so much actually comes down to Hollywood, is that everyone watches American movies because those are like what movies are made that are of a higher quality. Now they're bankrupt morally, They do horrible things and everything else, but the culture is being like exported through this, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that was the destruction um, of communism more than anything else, is that they were watching reruns of stuff that was coming out of the U.S. and going, this actually looks kind of nice. Like Miami Vice had a huge effect on communists going, I don't know if our system actually works. Right? All
Well,
the political
sitcoms
theory in
can
the
be
world.
propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Sitcoms can be, there's Friends and all
Certainly,
kinds of,
certainly they are. Certainly they are. And like, and that comes forward because it's a story that people want. People watch the sitcoms not because they already believe it. They watch the sitcoms because of the jokes, to be
yeah,
entertained, to turn their
yeah.
brains off. And while their brain is off, they don't notice all the things that have been normalized,
Yes,
right?
that has been pushed under the table. And, the thing is, there's a lot of people pretend to believe in stuff that they don't believe in order to go along to get along. Most people are malleable, most people are
Mm-hmm.
sheeple, and most people are hypocrites. So, what is necessary is for the government
Right.
to give them the green light and say, from now on, things are going to be different and it's going to be this way. And then, people will, of course, there'll be people who complain, but that's how revolutions happen, and that's how it's done. But I think a lot of people conflate um, what they think is likely to happen
Mm-hmm.
with the theory itself. So only if you think what I'm saying is fundamentally incorrect, because I haven't got um, my I am misdirected, because what I say is a problem isn't the problem. I mean, if you were to say that to me, and if I were to
Yeah,
accept it, yes, I
I
would
think
give it up.
I think the issue is that you're dependent upon people already having an idea of the good, because if you're any language of better, it's always, well, how do we even have a definition of better, right? Because if you already buy into Islam, if you already believe it, then you have notions of right and wrong, right? And the same
Well,
thing,
that's
like,
how
and
purpose of religion.
yes,
I mean, Christians, I assume, have an idea of right and wrong, and so do
yes,
Jews, and
yeah.
you know,
Because I believe in the words of Jesus Christ and in God as revealed in Scripture. And so, and
hmm,
the more people wander from that, the less I'm even capable of having a conversation with someone. When they have become, like, if they are Catholic or Orthodox, I can still have a conversation with them. But when they've become like woo woo white ladies with their crystals and everything else, and they start quoting anything, it's just like, oh, okay, you're just being pulled by your whims back and forth, right?
yes, you
Um,
can't reason with
yeah,
with the
yeah,
superstitious.
right, right.
And this is really, why organized religion is the one to maintain.
Yeah,
Really, I mean, if you want to compare, the non-Abrahamic religions, Hinduism and Buddhism, they're nowhere. They haven't acquired, you know, any empire at all. In fact, they've lost it. So there must be something about organized religion that
hmm,
makes people who believe in it, or just pretend to believe in it, behave in a different way. They have principles, and you can hold them to it. Um, because I think everybody, knows what a Jew is supposed to do. Keep a Sabbath, not eat pork, avoid shellfish, blah blah blah. Everybody knows their business, and the same with
right,
Muslims. We know they're not supposed to
right,
gamble and avoid pork and pray 5 times a day. So
right.
um, the use of this is really to hold them accountable. So if we see a Muslim who is drinking a cocktail in a casino and munching on a ham sandwich, we know he's not, going to be respected in his community. And the same with, a Jew, at a football stadium on a Saturday. So
But
this is how we.
you still have the problem of people need to believe in it too, because some of the ways that people get around these things, like my friend lived in Jordan, and during Ramadan, the liquor stores would would cover their windows, like they were boarded up, kind of a thing. So the it's
Mhm.
and I was just like, liquor stores in Jordan? And she went, yeah. What do you mean? And I'm like, well, you're not allowed. And she's like, okay. Like it reminds me of an old joke, which is someone says to it was on a sitcom. Someone says to someone who's a Jehovah's Witness, they said, "You guys aren't allowed to drink," and he says, "Yeah, we're not allowed to drink, but it helps." Right? And the idea is like you're
Mhm.
not allowed to, but you still do it.
Well, that's the thing. The people who break the rules know they're breaking the rules. I mean,
Mm.
and you might say, oh, what's the point of having the law anyway? Everybody breaks it, but the point is that, but always a kind of tariff, right? You want to kill somebody, bear in mind what will happen to you if you're caught and convicted, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And then people might complain that the police don't do their job, the courts are rigged, whatever. But then you go on to deal with that problem.
Mhm.
Why is the legal system corrupt? What can you do to fix it? Why are our ruling classes corrupt and incompetent? You ask the logical next question, and then I guess you decide whether you want to do something about it or not. And I'm just assuming that
Mm.
married parents who have a care about their children might be more likely to want to do something about it than, say, gay people or non-parents
So
who don't
your
have
feel
a stake.
so your feeling is that Christianity has already been tried for this project and failed. Is that correct?
Well, it seems to be the weakest link out of the five world religions because it's let in liberalism. Liberalism has basically taken over Christianity. And
Isn't
and
it
of course
because
in the
the
West.
West, yeah, didn't the West advance, and then so because Christians were in the cultures that advanced, they had to face this first, because the Muslims that are coming to the West are also having to deal with this, and they're facing all the exact same issues, right?
Well, yes, they will probably eventually be corrupted by the culture.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
too should have a care. I guess immigrants also want to hold on to their identity. They don't want to just merge, with um, the locals and just be, utterly absorbed with no, linguistic or cultural memory of their national origins or their parents or, national origins. Because I
yeah.
notice, with Americans, it's not enough to be, living in whatever state and being white. A lot of these white
Yeah.
nationalists, they want to refer to some European ancestry and call themselves Swedish or
Yeah, yeah.
Italian or Irish or something of that nature. It's not enough just to be white. And of course, all this complaining about uncontrolled mass immigration is a birth rate problem, isn't it?
But yeah,
It's a
yeah.
low birth rate that kind of absorbs. I mean, attracts all the um, cheap immigrant labor, and this is what I think is there isn't any connection being made about protecting your working class or even having your own working class that comes from the well that was born in the country because
Can I,
if
Claire? Can
all
I
the
ask
immigrants.
a personal question? As like as it relates to what your project is, do you? Okay, I just so you have shown me what your face looks like, and you do not wear a hijab
No,
in your personal day. Do you pray 5 times a
no,
day? So
no.
you don't, and do you perform salat? Do you like what of what you think other would be the saving grace of the world? What do you do that actually would be in line with it?
Well, I promote Sharia, which Muslims do not. They don't. I guess they're too scared to do it, I think. I mean, all they do
I
is,
don't,
why
but
don't you
you don't
become
follow.
Muslim?
But you don't. How do you
I eat
promote
pork.
something that you break?
Well, okay, under secular Quranism, there
Yeah.
would be no banning of alcohol,
Okay.
and of course, Islam is an imperial religion. If you ever read the book, you will read of, idolaters being mentioned, people of the book, the Jews, the Christians. So
Hmm.
it's always, talking about what to do with those non-Muslims. And they are, the people of the book are respected.
But
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah. Part of what I'm thinking is in Christian society, it was illegal. Like when people actually believed, it was illegal for businesses to be opened up on Sunday. Illegal. It wasn't. It wasn't. And we were doing this because it's important. It or like they personally thought that it was important for me, and though you're a Jew or whatever, like it's different for you. Instead, they just said, "Look, this is important. Everything is shut down." Right? That's how you actually get
yes,
it to
they
happen.
have Sunday trading laws. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
they were
Yeah.
called Sunday
Exactly.
trading laws.
Exactly. So you I don't know how you're promoting anything really. Like, and I don't mean this to be an assault on you in any way. I'm just trying to understand how one makes things consistent. Because if I'm trying to sell Christianity, the way that I sell Christianity is my life. It's like I used to not be hopeful. I have hope in my life. I have a stable relationship with a loving woman. I've become a stronger person of greater conviction.
Yeah,
And
but people will say, well, we're not like you. We're not, a smart,
yeah,
good-looking guy who, with a gift of the gab. I'm, maybe fat and stupid and poor and
right, right,
whatever.
right.
So, um, no, I mean, okay, under secular Quranism, the people who want to observe the Sabbath can observe the
Yeah.
Sabbath, and those who don't will just carry on trading, carry on working.
So,
I mean, this is
it's
always
interesting that
the
you're saying
idea
these
anyway.
things, though, Claire, because it's as though I arrived in this form and that Christianity had no role in it. Because the discipline which I learned from Christianity is something that helped me lose 30 pounds. Right. And so
Help you lose the what? Sorry, the
30
discipline you learn from Chris.
or 30, I don't know what you say instead of pounds, stones, but not like a 30, like what is 30 pounds? I lost a bunch of weight.
14. Okay, a stone is 14 pounds.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah. So I lost more
Okay,
than
so
a
you lost
stone
weight,
as a result of my religious practice. Right. And that is part of what I sell to people. Actually, this is like my life is
but
part
you're
of what
not
I sell to
you're not
people.
selling.
Oh, yes, I am. Like
Okay, but
I have, I
you're
have
selling your
people that,
religion.
yeah,
You're
if I died, I would have people come forward that would say that they were in some respect a disciple of me and that I passed my religion to them and that created the framework for their lives as best as they were able to incorporate into them. And some of these people are very, very different people. So one of the examples that kind of was hinted at before is I mentor someone who has been arrested for sex criminal stuff. I started mentoring him um, after he was encountered by the police, and he was like, "I need to change
mhm.
things," and has started meeting with me. Right. So this is not because of the law or whatever. This is religious transformation that then is going to result in this person being a different kind of member of society. Um, that's what
So
I mean.
do you but you have a position in your church, I assume.
I mean,
Do
I do
you? I mean,
now. Not when I'm an elder in my church, but like there's been periods of time where
mhm.
I was running what might be called a house church, and so my group was just a very very small group of people, and we had no structure that could make people stay or leave. Fashion guilt or like calling someone and saying, "Hey, we haven't seen you in a while" or whatever, right? But yeah, we lost members because they just didn't have the conviction of it, and that's what I mean. Didn't have the conviction of it. It's not just like, oh, that seems like a good, nice. People had utopian ideas that wouldn't it be nice if we were a part of this group? Wouldn't it be nice? Which to me is what secularism is not stable for anything.
Um, you were asking me about the Sabbath, and
Yeah.
I've explained that, under the system, were it ever implemented, the people who want to keep their Sabbath will keep their Sabbath, and those who don't will carry on
Hmm.
trading. So I can only explain how it would work,
Yeah.
as I, want it to work, should it ever be adopted. Maybe, maybe your question is, how do you see it adopted? How,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
would
Like
it ever get from just an idea?
yeah. I'll give an example. My father-in-law believed in the Sabbath so much. Well, I was just at his funeral yesterday, and one of the stories that was brought up was that he owned a general store and he refused to have it open on Sundays. And they were like, "You have to be open on Sundays." And he just refused because he's like, "I don't care if I take a financial hit. I believe in the Sabbath." So he was just like, "So I'm gonna take that hit, right?" That's
Hmm.
and so then everyone else around him could see that he really believed in it and what the value was. It was being
Hmm.
modeled for them what that value is. Your I don't see that being modeled by you.
I
I
don't have
think
to model it, I don't
yeah,
think, but simply because I've done. I've made enough of a point to
yeah,
show that I believe in my idea, whatever people think of it, and um, I don't think I have to be Muslim to do it. You know, I think you think I have to be Muslim, right? But but I
yeah,
don't see why. Because if I were Muslim, I would end
yeah.
up like Anjem Chowdhury. Do you know who he was? You know
No, I
who he
do not.
is.
No, no, I do not.
Well, he was this Muslim radical who preached Sharia for UK. He's in prison now. They put him in jail for 28 years just for saying that.
Yeah. I'm
So
realizing
that's why
there is
Muslims
there
don't do it.
yeah, like there's something that I believe in that I have not done and I do nothing about. And any time when I'm at a party, it's one of those topics that I will talk to anyone about. But I'm not. It's not going to happen. Um, is like
Sorry, what's going to
I
happen?
believe that sign language should be taught to every human being on the planet because so many people lose their hearing that it would be such an advantage to the world if we all had a second form of language that uses a different
It's
sense.
so annoying sitting next to people talking in sign language. I was on the underground and there were this young man and this young woman, and they were gesticulating away like mad.
Yes.
Just really
But
annoying.
what I mean is, if you're at a concert and the music is too loud, or if you're in your car and you see someone across from you and you need to
You
communicate
can't really
something,
force people to learn stuff. They won't do
just
it, right? It's like,
right.
how dare you tell me to learn this shit and learn that shit? You know,
Yeah.
they won't do it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Even
And
when
but this is the other problem though, is that I know that the odds that I'm going to lose, like my dad has basically lost so much of his hearing. I
well,
have
he can learn
earbuds
it
in
now, can't
all
he?
day. I was part of punk rock. Everyone as they get older loses their hearing essentially. Like the percentage of
Well, I guess
elderly
we sort
people.
of learn to lip read, don't we? Don't we?
No, the majority
I
of
mean,
people are just miserable. Like as they lose their hearing, they try to lip read, but they just miss out on so much. Like I know a ton of people who are translator, like sign language translators, and a lot of their work is like just going into old folks' homes and trying to teach people. But by that time, there's just like no point. Anyway,
okay.
I think your understanding, your version of religion is not my version of religion because I practice my religion. And I
Yeah,
believe
I'm
Christianity
really
is good
a
and I
political
teach others to
theorist.
do it. Yeah. I feel
I'm not.
yeah.
I,
Go, go ahead. I'm sorry to be
I'm
to
really a
interrupt.
political theorist. I don't think people understand that, or they have
Hmm.
no interest in political theory. But I'm saying, if there's a problem, and I think I know what the problem is, then um, I'm just pointing to the solution. And if you think my solution is
Yeah.
wrong, then you know,
That's interesting.
please tell me what it is. But I don't think you're coming from that. It's like, why aren't you Muslim?
No, no,
And
no.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
your only thing against me. I'm not Muslim, therefore my idea is crap. And
No. I that's not. It's
I think that's what you're trying to say,
okay.
right? And I'm saying you don't have to be Muslim to be a social
Right. Right.
conservative. You
Right.
can be atheist, but as long as you believe in marriage, if you want to get married, if you want to be a married parent, and
Right. This might be
you
a way
see
of
the
creating
advantage of
stability.
living in a high trust society and a low
Yeah.
tax society, you don't have to believe in God, right? But I think a lot of the problem is they don't even want to talk about it because they think it might get them into trouble because they don't want to be seen to be questioning
Right.
feminism. That
Right.
that is what they're afraid to be seen to be doing. So it's better to
Yeah.
assume failure and not do anything because, well, it's safer, right? It's safer to just say, I'm going to fail. I'm only one person. Everybody hates Islam, you know, and I'm not even Muslim, and I don't even read Arabic.
I think part of it for me, Claire, as I'm trying to understand things, I'm realizing because as you said that this is your only argument. Um, I was trying to receive that and think to myself that a lot of my thinking has come from trying to help people directly. So part of why I don't believe in a lot of social systems is because I lived with someone that I was trying to help. And as I'm trying to help them, I go, oh, this solution doesn't work. This solution doesn't work. This solution doesn't work. So if someone says, hey, if we just give the poor money, they won't be poor anymore. I go, yeah, no, I tried. I gave them some money. It didn't work. It didn't help. And this was someone who was like,
Yeah,
yeah, someone who was living with me for a period of time. I would, I with me and my wife, we tried helping him save money, and part of how we helped him save money was by not charging him rent. Well, that actually did not help him to be more
but you're
responsible with
talking
money.
about helping
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah,
You're
I am.
talking about helping people around you, but I'm talking about changing the law and changing the system, and you're not directing your mind towards that at all because that's not how
Okay.
you roll, right? You think
Yeah.
it's just some stupid theory. Nobody's going to adopt it, but I'm saying if it were adopted, then the law would
Mhm.
change, and because people are centers of um, pleasure seeking and
Okay.
pain
Yeah.
avoidance, they will, even if they don't agree with it, they will obey. I mean, in the same way that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
obey
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kinds of
No, that
laws that
makes
we don't agree with because we don't want to be fined or thrown into prison, etc.
okay. Let me ask questions instead of critiquing. Then, is what size would this have to be attempted at to see if it was successful? Because part of like a lot of my thoughts, I lived in an intentional community where we were like splitting groceries and like I paid a different amount of rent because I made more. So I paid a higher percentage even though I didn't get a larger room. Like little things like that where like I have opinions on certain aspects of how one might live because I'm like, I could see it on this form and then you could just upscale it. Like you could do it on a larger scale. What scale could this be done to see if it was effective? Because you're saying it hasn't been tried. What size needs it to be
Well,
tried,
at the government
if that makes
level, of
sense?
course. At the government level is not, some little community out in the boondocks practicing successfully. Of course, they're going to just ignore you. I'm just saying, it has to come in the form of
Like
legislation.
yeah. Okay, let's go. Because you there is a local government, right? Could you have a village and that could determine whether or not this was
They're going
effective?
to ignore it. I mean, there are all kinds of, white nationalist types,
Okay.
wanting to start their own community, and they get all kinds of bad press. Oh, cult leader, you just want to have sex with all the women because you're the cult. It's predictable. So, okay, to Americans, it has to be done at the federal level. It can't
Yeah.
be, in some, little township in some, out of the way town that nobody's heard of. To have it done properly,
But
it will have to be done at the federal level.
yeah, it's this is interesting.
However unlikely you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I will try. I'll do
No,
my
the thing
best
is,
to
you
make
don't
sure
want
there's
to do it. Right? You don't want to even try to do
yeah.
it.
No,
You
of
think
course
as
not.
long as you and your community marry and have children, you're fine. You don't give a damn about everything around you because they're not your community and you don't care about them. But they will affect you when their high crime and their criminality affects you
Mhm,
when they come and
mhm.
burgle you and rob you. So I think you should have a care about people who aren't Christian, who don't
Yeah.
already
Oh,
subscribe to values, because they can
yeah,
come and
yeah, yeah,
harm
yeah.
you.
Why do you think I do the
So,
Bible
so
study?
what's all this? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm just doing my thing with my,
Oh, I don't feel that way.
Christian
I
community.
don't feel that way at all. No, 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 no. I don't feel that way at all. Um, like I
Okay,
in
what's
yeah,
the problem of just taking a sample of the prison population and say
yeah,
the majority of convicted criminals come from broken homes, don't
yeah,
they?
yeah, 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 yeah. They do absolutely. Yeah,
So why don't we um, privilege married parents and
yeah, yeah.
over non-parents and treat unmarried parents as sex offenders? Why don't we?
Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Well, it would be, well, of course, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but we can talk about it. Actually, it used to happen. It used to happen in Europe and in America,
Right,
but
right,
all that has fallen by the wayside, and now everybody thinks extramarital sex is a human right. But
right,
the
right.
there's more than one system of human right. But yes, ultimately, if we're talking about marriage, we are talking about the marriage license. We are talking about who's entitled to have sex and children. And of course, that's going to be controversial in a culture that encourages casual sex and gay marriage and transgenderism.
Hmm.
I mean, that is really the problem when we talk about sexual morality, isn't it? People think, some people think, oh, sex before marriage is okay. Gay sex is okay. But
Do you think at the larger levels that people are convinced by ideas? I think let me first say how I feel and then you tell me your response to it. Is that maybe I would be more interested in trying to get my notions of morality passed on a larger level if I believed that the system wasn't so remarkably corrupt um, that that if an honest man showed up, they would rip him apart. That he would be assassinated by anyway. Doesn't matter by
yeah,
who.
yeah. I mean,
And that like I feel that the good that I can perform is not on a societal level, and so like I do think I can convince individuals to make the decision to have more responsible sex and to live more fulfilling lives and all this other stuff. I can do that and have done that. And like I do dedicate a ton of time for that purpose and can in measurable ways say this was a success, this was a failure. Um like I so I think yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Does that make sense? Does that do I just sound
I mean,
crazy?
you can say that you live the perfect life, but what about your children? They might have a different idea to you. You could lose your children to the culture. Many
Yep.
carefully reared, Jewish, Christian, Muslim children
Yeah.
are lost to the culture, right? And the voice of
Yeah.
CNN and mainstream media will always be louder than the voice of mum and dad. And if they go to university, they will have these are centers of indoctrination, and
Right. Right.
they
Right.
will
Right.
equip our children to call us all kinds of names that will make us seem terrible
Yeah.
people. So it I don't think it's that easy, and therefore we can theorize about how these things might be done, and I think all political activists will agree that it's about changing the law. And if too many of these laws need to be changed, it will be about changing the political system, and then of course you'll be accused of being a revolutionary. But I'm saying it can be done peacefully through enough people being prepared to make the arguments. And
Mhm.
but I think that the problem is that married parents are in a minority. And even
Yeah.
even so, they do not want to make the case for being privileged over non-parents, which would include
Yeah.
gay couples.
So
And
yes, so for me, for instance, a lot of how people vote is based on is that they outsource their political thinking to their religious leaders. So if a religious leader says this is what the Bible teaches or this is what the Quran teaches, then they vote according to that, right? The and and then from there, from that perspective, that's how they vote, and that happens over and over again. So to me,
but they
affecting,
lie to again and again,
yeah,
aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, in certain American states, it's adultery is still a crime. It's actually against the law. But people treat they ignore these laws. But the point is that it's also a numbers game, because I think that there are probably more unmarried parents than there are married parents now. So that might be a problem. But I'm saying ordinary people can actually make these arguments. By referring to the prison statistics. You know, the
Mhm.
prison is full of the products of never married parents, reared in their by their never married mother in their fatherless home, and this is a problem. It is a social problem, and if uncorrected, it's just going to get worse. So I'm just pointing it out. I don't
Yeah,
expect success in my lifetime, but it seems a very important point that everybody, it seems, prefers to look the other way and pretend they don't understand, or it's enough to you know look after your own, or pray to
yeah.
Jesus, or whatever it is.
It's interesting because, like, in some communities as well, going to prison is not actually seen as a problem. Even the idea of seeing going to jail as a problem is from a particular perspective. So for
Perhaps
fun,
it's a rite of passage for some
yes,
people.
yes, yeah. It's like going into the penalty box in hockey. You still, like, people will teams will choose people who's like an enforcer is the term, where they're brought on the team and they're going to push boundaries until they're thrown into the penalty box. And that's part of what they're actually there for. And like, there were people that tried to stop allowing fights, where in the middle of a hockey game people say we are stopping so that we can just beat the crap out of each other, right? And people actually said, you know what, we like this, we don't want too many, but they shouldn't get in too much trouble, and don't intervene right away, let them fight it out, right? Like, to what extent something like that is allowed. um, yeah, I'm interested in what some of your ideas are, and whether or not they could create a stable society. I don't I do have some skepticism about it, um, but I'd like to hear the ideas kind of from soup to nuts, because it when saying something is a problem, it already seems that it's baked into the system you're depending upon me agreeing that it is a problem. Whereas I know people from specific communities where it's not a problem; it's a rite of passage.
Hmm. Yeah, so and these people are increasing in number.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And increasingly in your
and
country, they're Muslim, are they not? Like, the prison population is getting more and more Muslim.
well, they say that, but I wonder whether it's a kind of demographic, in that if you're a man of fighting age between the ages of 18 to 40, you're just more likely to get into trouble with the law. And if Muslims are the only ones who are having children, then that would kind of explain things. But it is a demographic problem, and also talking about men of fighting age.
Mhm,
The
mhm.
average age
Yep,
of the West is 40 and rising. I think it's
yep,
45 in.
yep.
I mean, they've just raised the fighting age to 45 in Germany and 42 in the US. So it's rising, and obviously, as we get older, we won't have the revolutionary zeal that people in their 20s might do, because bachelors are useful in that, that in a way they have nothing to lose, and they have to take risks and do stuff that, married men with, a reputation and a job to uphold will not be doing. And if most people are oldies, that they won't be taking these risks. Imagine if our average age was 80. They can do whatever they like with us then,
Right.
won't they?
Yeah.
And it's not enough just to have lots of children if you're just going to, abandon them, because they're going to be a credit to their parents, and they'll be, messed up, mentally ill, delinquent, criminal, and, taking fentanyl and being homeless. So okay, I just don't find it hard to say what I've been saying, for years and years, and my reaction is, I think a lot of it is, well, we sort of agree with you, but we don't think you're gonna get anywhere with this, so we'll just look away and pretend it's nothing to do with us. Because it's too controversial, yes, to even say that maybe married parents should be treated as higher status than non-parents, and just to make the point. And after all, if we take the Bible or the Quran seriously, it does say a lot of things about sex.
Yep.
And the kind of sex we're allowed to have, which nobody wants to discuss, of course. But it's like, yeah, okay, we want to have sex before marriage. Surely with modern contraception, women might just find it in a way of not getting pregnant and not demanding, abortion on demand. But it seems not.
Well, yeah, one of the reasons why I keep on jumping back to culture is that the legalization of things didn't actually push things forward. The culture had to shift in order for people to actually, like, things like shame. You could be within specific cultures where it doesn't matter whether or not you legalize things. It's not going to happen. And so the purpose of the law, if the culture is strong enough, like, to me, I think about things like the Amish or Hutterites or all these things where, like, if I said, look, this is an example of a successful utopian community where they have people who believe in what they believe, and so the larger culture around them, like, as we collapse in North America, I don't know what's going to happen, because the Mennonites might just inherit everything, because they've been continuing to breed, and that their mode of passing on their philosophy and enforcing their ideas, even without police, has been so efficient that all of our ideas that make way more sense on paper will be shown to be a failure in comparison to the horse and the buggy. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, nobody wants to live like the Amish, apart from the Amish, right? It's a bit much to expect people to live like the Amish when most people live in, urban centers. And therefore the message has to be, directed at people in urban centers, and arguments made. And I know people
so
don't like facts and logic because it doesn't reward them to use facts and logic. And even if you win an argument, you'll
yeah,
be labeled
well,
something or other.
consider not the when you said nobody, that implies a majority. And if the majority is going like this, and the Amish are going like this, they're not a minority. Like, they are a minority, but they're not the absolute minority, and they're increasing year after year after year. Is the group that's plummeting is following, like, the nobody is this group. The people that you're criticizing are going like that. They're going up and they're succeeding.
You're saying that the Amish are increasing in number. Is that what you're saying?
I'm
Are
saying
they? Are they
they are
actually
not
increasing in
just, yeah,
number?
yeah.
Are people
There's
joining
yeah,
the?
people. Some people do, but it doesn't even matter if people join, because those people are dying off. and they're no longer going to exist while the Amish will.
Well, I probably the immigrants. I mean, people might say they're not invested in the country, but I think they are. I mean, they've crossed oceans and continents to get to the West, so they will probably have more of an biological imperative to become parents, and indigenous people who can't see the point of getting married, and it's really the biological and social urge to become parents, to become married parents. And obviously, if in the current culture, being married is seen as dull and stupid and, not very clever. So, and the government doesn't really care. I mean, in China, they're at least saying, I don't think that they are. I mean, I know there are problems in China, but at least the government says we now have a 3-child policy. We'd like each married Chinese couple to come up with 3 at least. And I know in Russia they talk about these things too. But here in the West they don't even acknowledge the problem. Perhaps it's because they want us to die off. That's what they prefer, maybe.
Claire,
because they don't even think it's a problem. And
yes.
and this
Claire, could I
Yes.
open up this
What
conversation
you
for
say?
other people to join in? Would you feel okay with that?
Sure, that would be fun.
Okay, I'm going to drop the link if people want, because we got a good number of people who are watching live, commenting in the chat. Why don't they jump on?
Good.
Someone
Yes,
said
it's a very lively chat.
Busuttil wasn't able to make Claire break character. What kind of director is he?
Are you a director? What, a stage director?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, okay. No, but David, I feel quite optimistic in that someone we know in TLC has been on Tucker Carlson, and I see my route to success as being on Tucker Carlson. What do you think of that?
I think that where Tucker is right now, he might be interested in your project. But
Yay! Thank you for saying that.
But he would want you to show up on his podcast with a microphone in front of you. So would you be willing to break for that?
Yeah, of course. Yes, I'll do that.
Paul is rooting for you. PVK is rooting for you. Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
This is been going on about that, because I mean, I do have a sort of a roadmap to success, and of course, it has to be done through the media, right? I mean, the whole thing. First it has to be, broken gently to the people, and then they, they'll have to, and predictably they'll start freaking out, and then I say, no, it's not as bad as you think. You can do all these things, under secular Quranism. It's really not so bad. And it will be a gradualist approach about, and it'll be fun. That's the thing. The rules will be fun to read and understand and practice.
And you believe that the way that people will be convinced is that they'll just logically see that it is superior? Is that what your hope is?
Yes, because they might say, well, how are you going to do it? And I would say through a referendum, of course. It has to be done, legitimized through the current system. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do it is through a referendum. Hi, Paul.
How are you, Claire?
Hi, Paul.
I'm well, thank
Good.
you.
Well, will I see you when I'm in England?
You're not home.
No, he's not home. Will he see you when he's in England, Claire?
Oh. Well, you why not? Why not? You're at this pub in Mayfair or something, isn't it? Aren't you?
So yeah, I'll be at Cassidy's
I could
event. So
pop over
I'm sure
for
there'll
a
be plenty
drink
of
or
time
something.
there. So, well, so I have to first confess that I have not watched up to this.
Am I the only
started
one
on.
who's?
Sorry.
We got lag. Okay, so I'll confess that I haven't watched up until now, so I don't know what you two covered or didn't cover. Apparently, Dave didn't make you break character, according to some of the comments in the stream. Have you seen that Pearl? You know who Pearl Davis is, right?
Yeah, I know.
Just Pearly Things? Do you know her, Claire?
Pearly Things, yes.
Yes. Okay. She showed up at.
I know of her, yes.
Okay. So she's been doing a thing where she's showing up at churches asking if women should submit to their husbands, and basically coming to the determination that in no church in North America do women submit to their husbands. That sounds right down your alley.
Well, I think the marriage contract should be. Well, I think that the rot started with Diana when she refused to say she would obey Charles during that famous royal wedding. I don't know if you were watching. Maybe you remember, but she refused to say love, honor, and obey. And I think that might have been the beginning of it. I mean, there are all these sort of milestones that people might not have noticed, over the decades, I think. And of course, even in the olden days when women did say that they would love, honor, and obey their husband, they could, not actually obey them and instead, nag them and be quite shrewish. And they probably still got away with it, But it's really the outward forms that need to be, somehow acknowledged. So the husband can say, but you swore to love, honor, and obey. Why are you, being such a shrew?
But it's interesting because as a Christian,
the words need to be there.
Within my marriage relationship, what we promise and what we consider to be scripture is something that when the other person is being irrational, that can be commented on as something that you promised this, and that the other person can be swayed by the fact that they're not meeting their own beliefs. That continues to be the secular part, is the part, not the Coranism part. I actually think is maybe people give you bigger problems with the Coranism. My issue is with the secular part. Why do something that you don't believe in?
Well, okay. One of my ideas is that before your marriage will be acknowledged by law, you have to agree to a marriage contract, and there you have to say what you expect from each other. You can have a pro forma form, but obviously if you're very wealthy, you want your lawyers to draw it up. But there will be the usual, like you're supposed to protect and provide, and you're supposed to stay home and look up, whatever it is. And of course, no fault divorce would have to be abolished because it's kind of sort of Damocles over the heads of married men, isn't it? That the horror of being divorced for no particular reason, which can be emotionally and economically devastating. And this, I think, is one of the major problems that I think a lot of men don't want to admit.
Do you see any
Because feminism,
issue with
it's not Christianity that's our religion.
Do you think that Islam is going to be that it's Islam that you're pushing as a female? Do you see that as a problem? Because like the Quran says a woman is like her testimony is worth half that of a man, right? That is just like, that is its statement in law.
Only in the matter of witnessing loan agreements.
Okay.
Only in the matter of witnessing loan agreements.
Okay.
That's what it says.
But it
You know,
permits a
you need
husband
two
to
women to
strike a
witness a
wife
loan
and not
agreement,
the
but
other
only
way
one
around.
man.
Yeah. But the Quran directly says that a man who fears
Well,
disobedience
I
may
have my
strike.
own interpretation.
Yeah. Okay.
So if a woman
Well, I
if a
have
wife refuses to
my
submit,
interpretation of it, which is
if a wife refuses to submit,
Yeah.
what recourse does the husband have to force submission?
okay. Here is my proposal. So that verse says you admonish her and then you sleep apart from her, and finally you physically chastise her. So, well, you tell
What
her,
do you
well,
mean by
you know,
physically
clean out the
chastise?
house, or you know, well, that is a matter of interpretation. But my idea is not to interpret that verse completely away, but to say yes, you know, you told her off, you've slept apart from her, and she still hasn't improved. What you could do is invite both sides of your family to come and witness the ceremonial wrist slapping. So you're going to say, well, you know, you go out clubbing every night, you never clean the house, and you know the children are in a mess, and I will not have it anymore. And you go up to her and you slap her on the wrist, and if she doesn't improve, you can divorce her. But these are these three procedures. It's like a verbal warning, a written warning, and a final warning. You know, like you get in employment. So
I mean,
that's all it is. You don't have to give her a black eye. You don't have to break any bones. And because of all the people around who will be witnessing your complaint against your wife, there's no danger of actually hurting her. But the humiliation will probably prevent things from getting that far.
Do you interpret via the Hadith at all? Do you think that there's any legitimacy in that? I'm asking because there's a story where a Muslim woman.
Some of it is helpful.
Yeah. So on this verse, there's a woman who approaches Muhammad, and her skin is green from the amount of a bruise that she has, and Muhammad says, "No, I'm on the husband's side for striking you. Like it's not a slap on the wrist. It's a bruise that's bad enough that it got green."
Right. You're saying you know of such a verse in the Hadith, yes?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I, okay, I have my interpretation. Obviously, as far as the Hadith is concerned, I'm not saying all of it is unusable, but there are Hadith that contradict the Quran. The Quran doesn't even mention stoning, but the Hadith seems to talk about stoning of adulterers. And the Muslims
Quran
are
doesn't
very
mention
keen
praying
on
5
that sort
times.
of thing.
Yeah, praying 5 times isn't in the.
If you count, it seems to be. It seems to be very vague. It sometimes sounds like 2, sometimes sounds like 3, and it could be interpreted as 5. But be that as it may, you don't have to do it 5 times if you don't want to. Nobody's going to, send you to jail. I think it's probably enough to think of God 5 times a day.
My question is more in the civil. It's more in the civil aspect. So what you would be in favor of would be a civil law whereby a wife's submission to the husband, a wife's obedience to the husband would be a matter of civil law, and we would have formal marriage contracts. Part of when at stages, including this, as you probably know, crops up in the New Testament, where there's a discussion as to at what level of submission and obedience does the husband's prerogative entail. For example, if I decided that I preferred my wife to wear a particular color because I found that flattering in my eyes, if she wore a color other than the one I dictated, perhaps she didn't like the color, would that be an enforceable offense under the contract? Does that vary from contract to contract, or is this a matter of civil code?
Oh gosh, no. There used to be this so-called unreasonable behaviour for divorce in the UK, and it's a very wide category. But now that we have no fault divorce, you don't even have to prove that. But when there was fault based divorce, and it was, how long is a piece of string kind of thing, and how good is your divorce lawyer, I suppose, and how.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea is that divorce should be stigmatized. So I propose that even if you want to have the most amicable divorce, you would each couple would be considered 50% to blame for the divorce, because at the very least you married the wrong person. That was why the marriage could not continue. And when this concept is, and then if you want to argue about it, it could be 60-40, 70-30, whatever. But perhaps it's best not to argue, because it's not going to look good if you do.
But if you really want to stigmatize divorce, then even those people who, let's say, 2 years into it said this was a mistake, there should be stigma attached to that, because publicly, wouldn't you want the lack of wisdom and judiciousness by the parties to be part of their public reputation with respect to whether or not someone would be willing to marry them?
Well, yes, and it would be on the record anyway. Your divorce would be, a matter of public record. So, there's the Book of Common Prayer talking about marriage not to be entered into, lightly, wantonly, blah, blah, blah. It's still there. It's just that people don't take it seriously anymore. But, yes, and people used to talk about, I have a failed marriage, or 2 or 3 failed marriages. That's how they put it.
I think that the issue of the cart and the horse here, to me, you could legalize divorce in a culture where people didn't believe in it, didn't believe in divorce, and it wouldn't actually have a massive effect. It's versus what we were saying before. If there is a law, like I smoked pot in high school, adults didn't really believe that it was wrong. If they really thought that it was wrong, I wouldn't have been able to get pot so easily, right? Like the structures that are in place is based on what people actually believe. And that's why I think that the issue is the secularization. Because you can look, me and my wife are still married, even though we could get divorced with no fault, right? Why? Because we don't believe in it. We've had arguments that were pretty bad. I'm sure we had arguments that were bad enough that other people have gotten divorced after such arguments. But we haven't. And that's because of what our convictions are.
And that's a good social credit score for you.
And you have children.
Yeah.
Yeah. The social credit score thing, I think it's come to Harvard because apparently some people who said something about Israel or Zionism, they have their faces be, put on some van on the screen or something. That's very Chinese social credit score thing, when they do that to jaywalkers. So, yes, I mean, it's just a form of, and yes, being put on a no-fly list, that's a kind of, social credit score thing. So, it's already here. Maybe it was already here, just saying, oh, did you know that so-and-so, had a divorce, or, the cops just, I saw the cops going into their house, whatever it is, really. I think these concerns are peripheral. I mean, it's really about, how much we believe in marriage. And I think even sensible gay people can say, well, but for heterosexual sex, I would not exist. And I know that there were these two Italian clothes designers. I can't remember their names now, but anyway, yeah, they tried to say that the family was a good thing, and they were even gay people come from families. So
Yeah, well,
but they kind.
so is your
I'm trying to
dream
remember their name.
that Christians would adopt secular Coranism as well? Like, would you? Is it a
Well,
selling point to to only atheistic people, which I know is like a bigger
no, it's for
sell?
everybody. It's for Hindus and Buddhists and atheists and agnostics. But the only people who would support it would be people who want to be married parents and remain married parents. But I'm also saying that even a child could say, well, I know I'm better off with my two married parents living together in a loving relationship than being reared by my never married mother in a fatherless home. And I think
I,
even gay people could say, well, yeah, in theory, obviously most children in my country should be reared by, two parents. I don't think.
Jason is saying to you, Claire, that her dream is that Christians will have a spine. Would you agree with that? Enough to laugh.
Well,
That's good.
Well, that's all I'm saying. You don't even have to be, believe, but there are. Well, just go and look at the prison statistics. Well, most of them come from, broken homes.
Yeah, well, and okay, I'll give an example from my own life. Someone saw my marriage, and he was a philanderer, a man about town, as they used to say. And he saw the relationship between me and my wife, and that switched whether or not he wanted to be in a relationship. Nothing about the law switched, but he saw a relationship that he wanted to emulate. And that seems to me to be how people are drawn to things. Because I feel like your ideas, you could take this as a compliment, but I don't mean it as such. You're completely rational, and that to me is not a selling point. It's just
I
like a
know.
rational AI living in the clouds utopian. I could argue effectively for Esperanto, but I have not learned it. In the same way, I
Yes,
believe
but
everyone
we
should
must
learn
ask
science.
ourselves. We must ask ourselves why. Facts and logic is a survival strategy. We should use it to solve and avoid problems. Why do people make fun of it? It's always because people still ultimately prefer their own opinions and emotions to somebody else's facts and logic, and maybe
Because they're
religion
people.
would introduce
Yeah.
a little bit of humility.
That's amazing.
Hi,
That
Jason.
would be so incredible. And I do believe that in the resurrection, that secular Coranism could work.
Well, it's also
Just give me an
true.
interview on Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, let's get Claire on Tucker. I will definitely watch that. But part of your point, Claire, is that aspirationally, as a culture, we do aspire to be governed by facts and logic. If you go into an actual court of law in America, it is facts and logic, and lawyers are trained in facts and logic, and there is evidence. And it's just that most people govern their lives according to their desires. And I think part of the American system is that they wanted to have facts and logic on the ruling end, which would afford more whimsy and living by desire on the personal, private side.
Paul, let me say that liberalism aspires to facts and logic. Conservatism never has. Conservatism is the idea that we shouldn't just let our reason be unleashed. The idea is that we have a tradition and a people, and you can't defend a tradition aside from the fact that it just feels right. And so, Carl Benjamin of Lotus Eaters, Sargon of Akkad, whatever, his whole thing is that the issue with liberalism is rationality, and that's why it's insane because it's rational, not against it. Jason, you have joined us for some sort of a purpose to correct us because we are just fools. Help us out.
It's not. No, I just felt like I was trolling in the comments a whole bunch too. PBK left as soon as I started
he
talking.
left. He's offended. He's intimidated by your arms.
Well, I probably can't stay long because I have to keep an eye on chickens because we had a problem with hawks. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting when you guys were kind of talking about Quranism, which I'm still not super familiar with, and talking about very specific laws. I just don't necessarily know. Well, I just don't know how to think about those things because I know you have to do that in a very practical, in like face-to-face way of like, would you treat a wife like this? Should a wife submit to her husband on a like very, very day-to-day level? But then if you get rid of stuff like that, then where does that put you with God? Because what my mind always goes to is like, well, isn't creation supposed to be viewed as the feminine aspect to God? So if you take away any sort of, I mean, this is going to sound bad, but if you take away any sort of chastisement or like stuff about like a husband being able to correct his wife, like then do you take away God being able to do that to his people? And then removing that. And that's where my mind goes with that. And I'm like, that's why I'm hesitant to just throw really horrific sounding things. People will be like, oh my gosh, look at the scripture. It's so horrible. Like there's verses in Proverbs about beating your children. And it's like, let's just get rid of that, because people don't want to do that anymore. But then it's like, well, where does that put us in our standing with God or what we think God would be? Or even government,
Yeah.
My wife was actually a teacher in England for a while and for 2 years. And when you're teaching in England and you're starting off, they give you an older teacher to like mentor you. And her mentor teacher, when she was like, how do I get these kids to pay attention, to listen to all these things? Her mentor teacher had started when they still used the strap. And the mentor teacher said, honestly, I don't know what to do now that I can't hit them. It was like, straight up, I don't know how to command this class now that beatings aren't allowed.
I mean, that's so taboo now, but that's where, I mean, I guess just from personal experience, I am glad when God has afflicted me, when I had not been listening to, like, because especially, I mean, just with something simple as tobacco, like I love tobacco, but if I smoke it too much, I will get excruciating pain. It's this neurological pain in my face. And if I didn't have that pain, I know that I would weasel my way around anything I could to just keep smoking, which I'm sure would be bad for me.
People were talking about this, and I actually do think that public smacking would have, like flogging, would be of a great benefit.
Yeah, well, here's another example. I won't.
Sorry. And I think it's more humane. Is there's punishments in the Bible where you would be publicly flogged for, and that we now say that's inhumane. Let's lock you in a cage where you'll probably be raped. That's the humane decision, is to lock you in a cage where you might be raped, right? Like, I'm sorry, what? Just publicly beat me.
There was actually a New York. There was actually a New York cop who said, why don't we, it costs so much to imprison people. Why don't we just give them the option? The criminals convicted, ask them, would they like to be flogged and go home? Or would they like to be, just give them a chance, allow them to choose. And he didn't even get that far.
Yeah, that's like the option that
book. I think it's
when your parents say you can get a spanking or get grounded, and you're like, oh gosh, I still I want to watch TV, so I'll just take the spanking and
yes.
Yeah. Well, okay, man, I'm gonna share this. I have a friend, and he as he became a Christian, he had a mentor who was much older than him. He's like 20, and his mentor was like in his late 50s, and he believed that beating, like a child being smacked, was important for their development. And so part of him being mentored by this guy is that this guy smacked him. I don't know the details, and I don't know if he's like, if he stands behind this. But he got paddled or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
in a non-sexual way.
Well, the story I was going to tell, I won't use names, is I know this couple, and her boyfriend is in the military, and she was just out walking her dogs the other day, and some guy came out of his house and was yelling at her to get her dogs off the public sidewalk, and then like proceeded to get pretty aggressive with her and tried to grab one of her dogs and was kind of like chasing her down the street a little bit. And her boyfriend heard about this, and he was like, tell me which house this was. Because he's just like, the reason people do this is because they're doing it to women that are a lot smaller than them. And he's like, I'll go over there. He wouldn't do it to me. And he needs his ass beat because then he'll stop. And he's like, the reason people do this is because they haven't had that public humiliation or beating or whatever. And that, I think also, even that's why I left that comment of like, I think, and I know this is going to sound misogynistic and stuff, but I think women would be happy to submit if men like had more upstanding men. Like a woman that had a guy who would stick up for her in that way and go beat up this other guy because he chased her down the street. They'd be like, oh yeah, I'll get behind that guy because I know he'll stick up for me. You know what I mean? And I know that guy will.
Yeah, and I think
take action when things, I don't know. I'm too opinionated these days.
Well, the thing about the love, honor, and obey thing is really, there must be some, marriage must seem a good bargain for men, or they won't do it, right? They'll just go around, never committing to any woman. If the rule is that, a man is entitled to a free test drive, so to speak, for every woman who might like him. So why would he ever commit?
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, it's to do with gender roles and everything.
All those hoes.
Hi, Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy, how are you
I
doing?
have heard from Sandy in the private chat. She's having tech problems, and she's asking for help, but she is asking the wrong
Nice
person.
painting, Sandy.
She can't actually hear some of us. I don't know which ones she can hear. I'm going to call her on the
she's
phone
not
later.
reacting.
I think this is the right response.
What is the Jennifer Lawrence?
This is so funny. She's going to go into sign language. This is tree. This is beaver. See, these are the teeth. These are the teeth of
is that
beaver.
really?
Yes, that's beaver.
Wait.
Yeah. This is forest. So this is a tree.
Okay.
This is tree.
And this is beaver. Oh, because he's biting the tree.
Yeah,
okay.
He's biting the tree. There's the teeth, right? And then this is a forest. So a forest is this because it's tree. All the trees make a forest.
She actually knows sign language, though. So
Yes,
I don't know what she's saying.
She does. She does. Good gorilla. I've been thinking words I know. This is gorilla. This is the word for bored. Bored.
I like that one. I'm gonna start using that now. In secret.
Yeah. Bored. This is yeah. So good, bad. Bad is this because it's like if you eat something and it's gross and you go bad, right? I think. I'm sorry. It's been a long time. And now we've become silly fun boys, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did you watch that with Pete Holmes? That was pretty good. Silly fun boy.
Oh, I have. Yes.
Yeah.
I do like Pete Holmes.
So the idea of having. I'm trying to get back on topic. The idea.
No, I believe in what you're saying, by the way, because I've actually struggled with this because I know someone who is not religious who has committed adultery. And I'm like, I think that in the olden days, we would show up to his house, especially like I would gather the person's like the brother-in-laws or the brothers, and we would beat the crap out of this guy and we would tell him you're never allowed to do this. But he's not really in my community. he doesn't have a religious sense of anything, and there's no, like, what do we do?
Yeah.
How do we get this person to stop?
Yeah. I guess I'm wondering with I don't know the right questions to ask, but with Claire's points, is it probably the higher up in government that you get, the stricter the laws should be? Would that be something that would be good? Or do you think it should be, I mean, I just don't know how to implicate that. I don't even know if I really know how to ask that question. Because I guess, like I said, what comes to my mind
are you really?
Well, I'll just finish this real quick. What comes to my mind is like even just the Genesis passage of like God says you do this one thing, eat of this fruit, and you'll die, and it's like the death penalty on this one sin. And I just often think like, what if that wasn't the case? What if God said you do this one thing and you get a slap on the wrist? It's like there's a severity to every single sin that we don't realize, where it seems like there should be almost the strictest judgment for every minor sin. That something about that seems right to me, but I still don't know really how to live that in daily life, you know?
Jason, can I ask, I'm sorry if this is interrupting. Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Have you ever found, the image of like a person smacking themselves? Is that a compelling one to you?
What do you mean? Like as a meme?
Like as a thing that you've considered for yourself? I'm
smacking myself?
I'm assuming you're a dude who's struggled with lust.
Oh, like what do you mean about him smacking himself? I don't think I understand that question. Like, have I hit myself because I've struggled with lust?
Yeah. Have you ever?
Yeah, I used to punch I used to look at myself in the mirror and punch myself in the face. Yeah.
This is beautiful, Jason. Yeah. I don't feel there's enough people talking about this. I have too.
Yeah.
It's effective.
like literally, yeah. I've been so upset with myself that I've looked in the mirror and just like taken my fist and just over and over hit myself in the face. Yeah. Okay. That was not uncommon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason, for being honest. Because I'm like, am I allowed to talk about this? Like that image in a movie that's supposed to show that someone's crazy. And then, like they'll show him like struggling with something and he'll like smack himself on the back with a belt. Something like that. Like, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie, I think this is actually
self-flagellation.
Yeah. Self-flagellation is helpful and useful, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did it often, so I don't know that it ever like.
Well,
really
and you're a
helped.
good dude. And you're a good dude.
I didn't hit myself hard enough.
It's interesting to me because it's oftentimes a shorthand for this is a bad dude. And I actually
or people swearing at themselves.
Right. Right. I actually think that might be positive.
Yeah, I'm kind of on your side too. I know it's like sometimes people push against shame and they're like shame is a bad thing, but I kind of feel like it's a really good motivator in a lot of ways.
Okay, guys, Sandy has come back because Sandy wants to talk about sign language. I don't know. What do you what is your main purpose being here? Go, Sandy.
Is it working?
No. I should probably just leave and go for coffee.
No.
I spent the last 40 minutes fighting with StreamYard and YouTube and no sound after giving up on trying to catch up from the beginning because of the topic that you were doing. But if you guys have moved on and you want to just...
Sandy, while we talk, could you be our sign language interpreter? And that's what you're just doing at the bottom?
No, I want to hear what you have to say. Say what you were, even if it was taking it back, I want to hear it. No, don't leave. Don't leave for coffee. Don't let me pressure you if you gotta go.
I have a 1 p.m. class that I have to attend. I was going to 11 a.m. coffee with a friend so that I wouldn't screw up my prep for the class or any of that stuff. But then David started talking to Claire about all the brilliant things that he pulled from his learnings from yesterday's funeral, sex life, secular Quranism, and how to wrangle the entire world into coming in line with either of their perspectives, which I think are both going to fail. Still want me to talk, Jason?
Wait,
no,
so
that was good.
My project is going to fail? What's my project going to fail? Was it a really bad funeral?
No, I'll send you my notes later.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have notes
I like
on the
this. Cindy.
funeral. Okay.
No,
What are
I
we
have
talking-
no, I have notes on religion. Oh my gosh, what do I have notes on?
I think she might have a couple. Sandy, are you?
Yeah, pull 'em up.
Sandy, pause a moment. Are you okay? Are you all right?
I am at the moment. Give me a second.
I was gonna call you because I'm wondering if you're doing all right.
I'm scrolling down to the end of this more. I have 1,373 words of notes on something, all of which you guys just slammed into my morning with your conversation. Which
Hey, I
was
just
one of
got here.
no, not you, not you, Jason. It's not you.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I
Okay.
just came on and said beat your wife and children. I'm okay.
You can go back to that.
I'm joking. No,
You
no,
know
I
what?
wanna hear your
Okay.
point.
I'm sorry. I think what I'm most
have
interested.
children. Jason
What I-
doesn't have children yet, does he? We don't have
Sandy, can I
No, I
ask you a
don't.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Claire. Would you like to ask me a
Can I ask
question?
Hi. Yeah. You want it to fail, don't you? You
I
made
want-
a prediction that
I want what to
but
fail.
you'd like it to fail.
No, you have to define it. I want what to fail.
Secular Quranism.
No, I simply made an observation that based on your earlier back and forth, you and David, that the points that you were both making in regards to each of your positions, I don't think, I think that's, I think you're, what do you call it? Not presuppositions. We'll use presuppositions because I can't think of a better word at the moment. He was on about his father-in-law's funeral and the Amish, and you were talking about secular Quranism and some of the different ways in which if people were made to actually follow the law, that this would solve all the problems of the world. And my you can track what my thoughts were in the comments generally, but basically I don't think you guys, I don't think you hit the sweet spot. I think you both missed the sweet spot is what I'm saying.
Can you say why? I mean, I
Well,
think Claire likes this because we like the back and, or she's told me she likes the back and forth of.
not to the point where you guys are at the conversation because my sound blotted out for over 15 minutes,
Okay.
right? So basically to where I was when I first started trying to jump into the conversation, which was when Paul, I started to comment on this when Paul jumped into the conversation.
Yeah.
It's that long ago. That's as caught up as I am.
Okay.
My friends,
we
this
can
is
go
going to
back
go on
there.
for 15 more minutes, and then I'm going to call Sandy on the phone. So
Oh,
that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave after 50. There's no reason why I can't have a conversation.
She's going to send you to voicemail.
later, David, because I might still catch my coffee with my neighbor before 1 o'clock class.
Look, lady, I'm going to call you on the phone. If you don't pick it up, that's your decision. You don't have to answer. But I'm going to call you on the phone in 15 minutes.
So
Go ahead.
So this is Claire. So this is my answer to your question. What you're just listening to now is why it will not work. Because this is how church goes when you have issues within church, which I loved you were making a point towards earlier. And I didn't catch all of what you were saying to why do I want to call you Jonathan this morning? I said
It's
that.
fine. It's fine. That's my middle name. Keep going.
I know. I called you Jonathan yesterday.
Stop reflecting and continue. Call me anything. Call me Ishmael.
Call you Beaver.
So David, we are at 11:45. I have a 1 p.m. class. I was going to comment, but I will do my initial plan and come back to listening to all of this later. And you guys can even have a second one if you want. I will comment then. But in 15 minutes, I'm going to have coffee with my neighbor who I was scheduled for coffee with at 11 a.m.
Okay. Sandy, make your point. Make your point now, or I'm going to mute you so that Mitch can make his point.
Please make a point, Mitch.
Better be good.
No, I just, I felt like I should probably come on here, and it felt like a lot of things were being said, decontextualized or not being brought home. And
I really
just to
wanted you to
say,
start speaking in Esperanto. That's all I wanted right now. Sorry,
not a
continue.
good idea to, self-flagellate or, beat your wife, or, I mean, if this is your diet of spiritual wisdom, as this YouTube video or others like it, don't even hit your kids, in any way. It's just,
Well, okay.
just don't.
Well, my question for you then, because that's what I
In
mean.
no way. Mitch wants spoiled children. Continue, Jason.
In a very practical sense. Like I can see not doing that because I don't hit my wife, but at the same time, like going back to what I said, I'm grateful that God afflicted me times when I wasn't listening. Because it says that, I think in Proverbs as well, like you can correct someone with words. Like you can correct someone with words or a child with words over and over and over. And then at some point you got to reach out and like jerk their hand away from the light socket or something, something really jarring. That's what I don't know necessarily what to do with. Because that's what I mean is like the rule or the law that you have way up here, even at this federal level, could be the most severe thing. And then you pull it into a practical sense. And it's like, there's no way I would do that. But then if you get rid of that up there, where does that leave me? If I say God would never chastise his children, it's like, that's so scary to me. Like we've talked about, it would be worse if God just left me to my own devices and forgot about me.
That's right. Principally, I agree. I just know that this is being broadcast, is being cast broadly, and there's just all these disconnected, disparate statements about violence.
Look, Mitch, I don't want anyone.
Some wisdom somewhere.
Yeah.
Mitch, I don't want you to be beaten, but I'm glad your grandfather
take it, Mitch.
was.
I can take it, Mitch. If you want to say anything about secular Quranism,
I feel like as
I don't know. Yeah, secular
building our
Quranism.
Sorry, go ahead.
I what I was thinking earlier when I was listening to the conversation prior to the beatings was just that I doubt any worldview could be sustained without deference to a deity. I doubt any worldview could be sustained without a deference to an ultimate perspective and an ultimate authority that transcends that of our peers, our fellow human beings.
I feel, Mitch, that you.
So you don't think anything needs to be done. Nothing needs to be changed. Everything's fine.
I don't think he's saying that. No.
I
certainly not.
I don't know what he's saying.
Always be repenting. I think sometimes about a lot of people how they would, for example, in the Christian context, would want to be using Christian principles or Christian morals as a guideline, but let's forget all of the God stuff or the sort of divine judgment. You could leave that stuff at the door, and I bet I'm just thinking that worked at like a certain level of intellectual capacity, but I don't think it can work all the way down. I mean, I think with belief in God that you're not going to be able to sustain the Christian worldview.
I don't know what you're saying, Mitch. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Kind of
Can I ask you a question in relation to what Mitch just shared? Do you have a faith in God? I haven't really, in all the times I've listened to you talking about secular Quranism, the major thing that I pick up is the fact that you're advocating for a secular approach from people to laws and how to apply them. But I really don't know if you can answer what Mitch just was pointing to, unless I know whether
I didn't understand what he was saying, but I think you're asking me about. I do say I'm agnostic because I'm saying nobody alive knows whether the afterlife exists, but clearly people want to believe in it, and the existence of God cannot either be proven or disproven. given, and perhaps it benefits us to think that good will be rewarded and evil punished in this life and the next, because the Abrahamic God exists to do this. It would only be logical to believe that good will be rewarded and evil punished if God exists to do it.
Okay, so
Yes,
vet me.
thank you, Brett.
Vet me on your on my understanding of what you just said. You said as far so you mentioned calling yourself agnostic, but then you also pointed at if the Abrahamic God exists. So you're allowing space for, if that exists, there may be some applicability to also what you're talking about, or only to what others are talking about in relation to that.
I'm afraid I don't understand that, but I'm saying I know people who have at different times expressed to me belief, disbelief, and doubt. And I guess most of the time people don't really know what they believe. At some times they do really believe in God, and other times they deny his existence. I'm talking about somebody I've known over the years. And I think they're genuine. When he said he believed, he did feel it, and when he denied it, he did feel he did feel it too. So most people don't really know, and I think yes,
I can possibly answer my earlier I can possibly speak to my earlier statement to that. I didn't really see what you were, John. Oh gosh, I'm gonna still go. Sorry, you're Jonathan today. I did. Wow. Okay. I have said it before in these spaces. I have post-abuse PTSD with anxiety, and every once in a while, my words forget where they belong. Apparently, this is that day, and David is going to be Jonathan. But I am going to try to answer. I am going to try to answer what I was saying about the conversation you both had earlier. If I can, because my words are going to try and vacate again.
please do.
So can you give me a small refresh of having a friend that's agnostic? You don't think that most people believe what they say they believe anyway? Was that somewhat correct?
No, I think most of the time they pretend.
Okay.
Because,
and so
Christianity is the most powerful religious group. So to, claim a greater respectability, they might say they do believe in God, but they could be hypocrites. And maybe it's just a cultural affiliation, a status, status affiliation even. Middle-class people go to church. People who live in trailer parks don't.
Oh, that's not always true. But anyway, it's a kind of what do they call those things that present something? But actually, I mean, yeah. So the way I would frame it, and in answer to my earlier statement to you guys, I don't think, oh gosh, okay, sorry, but here we go. Jonathan, I don't think that the Amish are going to save the world, because they also represent what Claire just said. And you see that in a lot of things with people in post-Amish YouTubes and surviving my life, having left whatever. And here are the 5 billion things I'm dealing with because I choose to stay kind of videos, right? Which they shouldn't have if they're staying. But anyways, and I don't really think that what Claire is pointing at is going to solve. Hang on. Oh, I'm dry. Oh, sorry. Only had coffee and 2 long since water. I don't think what Claire was proposing in her conversation with you this morning is going to solve it either. because I don't think it's necessarily pointing at the correct problem. So the reason I'm challenging both of you is
What do you think is the problem?
I'll have to come
Sandy,
back
what do you think is the problem?
trying to point at the problem before we start working at the solution is part of the problem. So earlier in the comments,
Yes.
I pointed at
Yes.
one of my favorite thing, something or others this year was the pastor from the church that my ex-husband and I attended to after our divorce and after a few other things that happened around church and life and all of the reasons for the divorce, waved me into his, sorry, I'm gonna have to have more water. Waved me into his office one day for a conversation when I was there with my son, volunteering at one of those food distribution things you get that isn't quite a localized food bank, but delivers things to people. So I went into his office to chat, and what he said was that he had been thinking about something that somebody else shared on my behalf, who had phoned and basically ripped him up one side and down the other about something. And he wanted to apologize to me, or he was apologizing on behalf of himself. But it was basically about a few official meetings within a church, a structural context that happened, making some decisions regarding myself and or regarding my husband. The part that he was apologizing for at that point was because we both volunteered in different aspects of church leadership through some of their Bible studies, and I apologize, and other things, but that something had come up that well, you could either say that had my husband's nose out of joint, or that had some of his personal issues triggered to the point of more anger than I saw on a usual Sunday morning.
Sandy, I love you.
Wait a minute.
No,
Jonathan,
you're wandering. You're wandering.
I know.
Right now.
Give me a second. I'm not wandering. It sounds like I'm wandering.
No, you've been.
So what
Sandy,
he said to me, Claire, was,
I'm sorry, Sandy. Sandy, I had to put you on mute because it wasn't a short wander, and I like you very much, and that's part of why I'm going to call you in a little bit. But you're not in a good headspace right now, okay? And I love you, I really do, and I'm going to call and talk to you one-on-one, and that'll be appropriate for that place, okay? I'm wanting to shut down the stream anyway. That's what my intention is at this point.
Well, thanks for doing it, you guys. It was good to listen to. Good to join.
Yeah.
Yes. Mi encaro pensas
Thank you for
que si tio estis bono conversacio. That is Esperanto for I still think this was a good conversation.
Esperanto, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Silly me, I didn't actually click on the live button, so I only got the end bit. I didn't know you had to click on the extra button. You know.
I don't know how any of this stuff works.
Usually you just click on one button.
Yeah. Sandy was asking me to help
They
her
change
with
it
some
from
of the
time to
tech,
time to confuse everyone.
Yep. Yeah, and they make the end stream and the leave stream button look the same so that you could just leave and not know that you didn't end it, or you could end it prematurely, which is something that Yoav did to me the other week on Bible study. Okay. I love y'all.
Yes,
this was a good conversation. Claire has accepted a role, so you will be seeing her
that's great.
in Macbeth. Maybe not streaming, but
I thought it was Hamlet.
Okay.
This will be great.
Thank you, David.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you guys later.